Hello, I am Mr. Porter. You are a scholar. We are at Heritage Academy, and the lesson is beginning. Today, we're going to be looking at the verb to be, which in Latin is esse. Shortly, we'll get into how to say I am and you are and all that good stuff. But first, before we do that though, let's take a minute and look at the vocab words that we'll be using during this lesson. Feel free to pause the video when they come up, make flashcards out of them, and keep them for your own notes. Remember, anytime you're learning a language, expanding your vocabulary as much as possible is going to be crucial to helping you understand what's going on. Now that we've done that, let's take a look at this verb, esse. You might notice that esse is different than the other verbs we've covered so far in class. It's what's called irregular. For starters, the first thing you might notice when you look at this verb chart is that esse doesn't look anything like the other verbs we've talked about. Those ones, the so-called regular verbs, have a specific pattern that they follow, whereas irregular verbs don't. So let's take a look real quick at some verbs that we've already covered in class. For example, amare, which means to love, and spectare, which means to watch. If you remember, whenever we drew out the chart for these verb endings, they always ended in the same way depending on who was doing the action. For instance, if I wanted to say amo, I love, it ends in o. If I wanted to say I watch, I would say specto. It also ends in o. These verbs, the endings stay the same depending on who is doing them. So for example, to say you love is amas, it ends in as. To say you watch is spectas, it ends the same way. We can take this even further. He or she loves amat, it ends in at. He or she watches spectat, it ends the same way. And I think you get where I'm going here. Now coming back to esse, it is nothing like these other verbs. First of all, the chart looks completely different. Second of all, these verbs, these words on this chart are not endings. Instead, they're words entirely unto themselves. And we'll get into that in just a minute. For now though, take a minute to familiarize yourself with this chart of the verb esse. Let's go back to the example we often use in class about a conversation between you and me. If I'm talking, and I want to talk about myself, I use first person singular. In this case, I would say ego magister sum. Ego being the pronoun, of course, for myself or I. Magister meaning teacher, and sum is the verb to be when I'm talking about myself. I am. Now, let's say you and I are still talking, and now I want to talk to you. I could say, for example, tu scholasticus es. Tu, again being the pronoun here, it means you. Scholasticus is the noun for scholar, and es is you are. Now let's say that you and I are still talking, but this time instead of talking about myself or talking to you, we're talking about your little brother. We say, e puer est. E, once again, is that pronoun that we learned in class, meaning he. Puer is the noun you should be very familiar with it by this point. It means boy. And est is the verb to be conjugated out in third person singular, which means he is. Now, if we wanted to keep going, we could, but to make it brief, we will just point out that we are is sumus. You, plural, meaning I'm talking to more than one of you, is estis, you are. And they are, again, they being the plural form of they, is sunt. So now we're going to translate my little introduction to our class into Latin, using what we know about the verb to be. So normally I say something like this. Hello, my name is Mr. Porter. You are scholars. We are at Heritage Academy, and the lesson is about to begin. Alright, so let's translate this into Latin. Salve. Magister Porter sum. Scholastici estis. Ad Heritage Academy sumus, et lectio incipit est. Well, that's going to be it for the lesson today. I wanted to keep it short and focused so that we can really nail down this verb esse. Remember, if you have any questions, write them down and bring them with you to class. Next time I see you again, we'll go over all of your questions together. Until then, qui non quale. Goodbye for now.